Hi, my name is Michaela. I have a YouTube channel called The Homegrown Artist. If that is what you're watching it on, then it's this one. And I have been 27 for half a year, roundabout. And I just wanted to share some things that I've never done at the ripe old age of 27. I have never been engaged. I'm gonna start with these. I've never been married. I've never been in love. We'll leave that there. I have never owned a house. I feel like that's a pretty common one for most people at this point, but I've never done it. I have never gone scuba diving, and I never will. That's a fact. I hate the ocean. It's very scary, and there are a lot of things in there. I have never done any sort of substance. I've also never smoked, regular cigarettes or otherwise. I have never, what else have I never? I've not done a lot, so I should be able to think of things pretty easily. I've never had good vision. I've been wearing glasses since I was 5, so there's that. I have never not been socially awkward. Does that count? I've always been a little bit socially oblivious in some ways, and then that overcorrected much later to a social anxiety because I realized that there were social cues that I didn't pick up. Anyway, I have never this is tough. What have I never done? I've never been skydiving. I have never been rock climbing, like the real rock climbing. I've done the rock climbing at the Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, but I've never really been rock climbing. I've never been cave diving. I've never made paper. Oh wait, no. I actually did one time in Florida at Disney because they had a thing where you could make paper there. Okay, I take that back. No, I have made paper once in my life. I've never painted a beautiful painting. I've painted paintings. None of them have been too pretty, but they've been fun. I've never seen Titanic. I have never seen Titanic, and I will stand by that. I'm sure it's a great movie. I just have not seen it, and I've not had the opportunity in my life for anyone to sit down and watch it with, so I've never seen Titanic, and that's fine. It's fine. I have never asked for somebody's number. I've never done that. I have never comfortably called myself an artist or musician. I feel like that's a bit of a weird one, but I've never felt comfortable calling myself an artist or musician because I felt there was always some sort of expectation attached to it. I always said I was an aspiring artist, an aspiring musician, and even now I still make little sketches. I do silly little pottery things that no one really cares about and are like okay for an adult to make, you know? Oh, there's still stuff in there. Okay. That are okay. I mean, this is fine. This was the second one I made. This was the first one I made of air dry clay. I've not done pottery other than that since I was a child, but I digress. I've never felt comfortable giving myself the title of artist or musician because I felt like my skills just didn't match up to the weight that I thought that word held. And it does carry a weight, but I think there is merit in, this is a tangent, I think there is merit in, as you are building those skills and as you are exploring those aspects of your creativity, even if you're bad at some of the stuff, taking charge of those labels. And if you're going to call yourself something, just instead of saying aspiring, unless you haven't started yet, unless you are just beginning to learn about this thing, but it gets to a point where, just call yourself a musician, just call yourself an artist, just call yourself a writer, just call yourself the thing, claim it. Anyway, so I'm working on that. I want to be more comfortable in calling myself a musician, and calling myself an artist, even though I am an amateur in at least the visual art facet of it. I don't consider myself an amateur musician. I have lots of student debt and an expensive piece of paper to back that up. But I am a beginner in a lot of the ways that I'm exploring music creation. Anyway, I've never stayed up for 72 hours. I think that's silly. I have never eaten a whole loaf of bread in one sitting. I can say that. There have been times where I've been close to eating a whole thing of the sweet Hawaiian rolls, but a loaf of bread has never been a temptation for me. I have, at least in my teen to adulthood, I'm gonna say that this counts, in my teen to adulthood, never not had some part of my body that didn't hurt in some way. Even now, I'm 27, I don't feel like it's that old, but there are so many things that I am experiencing, like new allergic reactions that I've never had before, new joint pain where I didn't realize joints could feel pain. Like I've always had, like swollen knuckles in a way, like with some early arthritis since I was like 16, but knee pain and back pain. And I pulled a muscle the other day pulling my covers up in bed. This is ridiculous. My frontal lobe has developed. It's been developed for 2 years now, and here I am pulling muscles in bed from pulling up the covers. I have never read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I've always wanted to. I haven't. I'm looking at it right now. That's what made me think of it. But I have never actually read it. I have a lot of books I've never read. And I keep buying more. I'll not read for a little while. I'm working my way through them. I have never been to Europe. I would like to, but money and timing. I've only been to like one country other than the US, and that was Costa Rica. I went on a choir trip. It was a lot of fun. That's the only time I've been out of the country. I have never been good with directions. I feel like this is an interpretation of this challenge, but I've never been very good with directions. I have to have a visual and auditory input to comprehend, and I have to, as far as like going somewhere directions, I have learned that I have to go there and back several times before I have the route memorized. I've never been good with change. I've never been great at adapting to changes in life. In some ways, and with some changes, I'm a pro, but in a lot of the changes that seem to matter, I am not super great at that, but I'm working on it. It's a learning curve. This is my first life. I have never thrown my mashed potatoes up against a wall. I can confirm that. If you know, you know. I've never eaten a Tide Pod. I feel like there are a lot of people that can claim that, but I've never eaten one of those. It was never appealing to me. I have never purchased or owned any sort of like gaming console. I have a DS, but as far as like a gaming console like Xbox, PS5, I've never bought one of those. I never had one of those, except for a brief moment where an ex gave one to me for Christmas, and I got that sucker out of my house as soon as we broke up. There's like a little bit of regret there. There's a part of me that's like, man, I wish I'd kept that, because it was a PS2 and it was super fun and I had a bunch of games for it, but I knew for my sake I needed to get that out. I have never totally nailed down my fashion sense. I feel like it's a very much so hodgepodge of, I find like a shirt that I like in the thrift store, and then these pants that I like here, but they don't go together, so I go to buy another shirt and it doesn't go with anything I have. And then I have some dresses and like some things that I've learned to put together as outfits, but other than that, not really totally nailed it down. I want to be, cottagecore, garden fairy, homesteader, but also I want to be chic, refined, put together, like elegant lady. And those coincide in a lot of ways, but I just feel like I missed the mark so much. But it's okay. It's okay. I generally like what I wear. I have never bought myself a Lego set. I've never liked, and I never will have, those stupidly bright headlights that people, like the blue LED headlights that you see them coming and you're blind. I have such bad night vision anyway, because I have an astigmatism and very thick glasses. Look at how thick I know there are worse than this, but look, and you can see it like distorts my face on the sides. It's fine. In some ways I've done a lot. In a lot of ways I've not done a lot of the normal things that people have done. I've never snuck out of my house. When I was in high school, never an occurrence. I would much rather have been in bed. And I'm not saying that to be like, I never snuck out. I was such a pick-me girl. I just never snuck out. Also, I was terrified that I would get caught or like die or something. I've never been to like a party. I mean, I have like gatherings, what I call parties with my friends. I've been to cast parties from shows, but I've never been to like a like that kind of party. Um, I've never been to a club. I have never eaten haggis. Never eaten haggis. I've also, I'm trying to find a way to wrap this up because I could honestly, the more I think, like I'm coming up with like super niche things that some people probably have never done. I've never hopped on one leg as I was spinning around in a circle with a banana on my head saying yippity yee. I've never done that. Have you done that? If you have, then kudos to you. I think, safe to say, there are a lot of things in my life that I've never done. And there are going to be things that I don't ever do. There are going to be books that I don't ever read. There are going to be songs that I don't ever sing, music that I don't ever hear. And that's honestly heartbreaking, but also relieving in a way. If you embrace that, then there's no pressure to try to cram as many things into your life as possible in a stressful way. If you are a kind of person that just does a lot of things and you find a way to fit it into your schedule and you are constantly seeking something to do, some new experience, okay, great, fine. But if you are kind of where I am right now, where you have made it this far, 27, still very young, we're very young people, and you're just, you've not done a lot. I'm a teacher, shock of all shocks. I majored in music and now I'm a music teacher. All this to say, if there are things that you've never done that you feel bad about not ever having done, just know that there are millions of people out there in the world that have never done those either. And it's not a race, it's not a competition. You are where you are in your life, and whether that's where you're meant to be or that's just where you landed, it's reality, and there are beautiful things in that. Don't feel guilty for the things that you have not done, that you would like to do, and that you feel guilty for where you are in your life, about not having done. It's okay. Most of the people in this age range, but like even I don't know, everyone, all age ranges, there are things that we feel like we should have done at that point that more people than you realize have not done. So just take that little bit of hope, take that little bit of encouragement and run with it, my friend. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.